No weapon in the arsenal of the Imperium or the traitor equals the Titan on the battlefield, and a legion of such vast war machines can bring any world to its knees. In truth, a Titan has only three enemies: folly, hubris, and another of its own kind. Grandmaster Vulcus, Ordo Sinister of the Divisio Militaris. A Titan, often reverently termed a god engine or god machine, refers to any colossal, crude robotic war walker deployed by the Titan legions of the Adeptus Mechanicus Collegia Titanica or the corrupted ranks of Chaos's Dark Mechanicum. The term originally encompassed a broad range of large-scale combat walkers used across the various factions within the Milky Way galaxy, but has since come to denote only those fielded by the Imperium and the Dark Mechanicum. Other Xenos Titans have been categorized by Imperial scholars under names reflecting their origins, such as the Eldari Phantom and the Orc Gargant. True Titans are, therefore, the exclusive domain of the Imperial and Chaos forces. In the cult Mechanicus's beliefs, Titans stand as the most venerated embodiments of the machine god in physical form, honored with the title of God Machines by the tech priests. These towering war engines form the core of the Mechanicus's military strength and are the heaviest ground forces the Imperium of Man can deploy. Each forge world within the Adeptus Mechanicus arsenal maintains a defense force that includes the Skitari legions, Praetorian servitors, and one or more Titan legions from the Collegia Titanica. The scale of Titans, particularly the largest, defies ordinary comprehension. In the Winter Assault saga, an Imperator-class Titan, the largest known battle Titan, lies fallen across a vast battlefield, its partially buried right-arm cannon barrel alone spanning over 30 meters in diameter. Titans were initially constructed on Mars during the Age of Strife as tools of conquest, serving the nascent cult Mechanicus in its battles to reclaim Mars' radiation-scarred surface from feral mutants and rogue machines. Once Mars was secured, the Titans became instrumental in the Mechanicum's colonial fleets, advancing through the warp to establish forge worlds and giving rise to the first Titan legions, military formations comprised solely of Titans dedicated to specific forge worlds. Typically, Titans stand between 15 to 60 meters, 50 to 196 feet, tall, while the immensely rare and formidable Emperor-class Titans can reach up to 150 meters, 492 feet. Titans exist in numerous classifications, yet all within the Titan legions serve the Adeptus Mechanicus's Collegia Titanica, embodying the faction's supreme war capability. Titan classes are generally divided into three primary categories based on size and combat capability: Scout Titans, Battle Titans, and the formidable Emperor Titans. Scout Titans encompass the lighter, more agile war engines optimized for reconnaissance and providing infantry fire support, making them essential assets in most Titan legions. Battle Titans represent the mainstay of any Titan legion's power, delivering the heavy firepower that defines a legion's combat effectiveness. Finally, the Emperor Titans stand as the apex of Titan class, embodying unmatched battlefield dominance as they deliver both primary offensive and defensive might. Each Titan, due to its high-tech construction and prestigious role within the Imperium, is christened with a unique High Gothic name upon its completion. These names typically consist of two High Gothic words, often reflecting a revered concept or title inspired by the creed of the imperial cult. Examples include Aquila Ignis, Regalis Annihilatus, Vitus Falco, Imperius Eradicus, Imperius Belladon, Apocalyptus Credo, and Dies Irae. A Titan's destruction is a profound loss, deeply mourned by the Forge world responsible for its creation. Imperial Titans are distinct not only in design but also in intelligence, as their computer mind cores, referred to as machine spirits by the Mechanicus, are sentient and self-aware, though unpredictable. This is unlike the non-sentient machine spirits often found in other Imperial vehicles, such as tanks and armored transports. For instance, a new Princeps connecting to the Titan Imperius Dictatio experienced a formal mental greeting from the God Engine itself. Another example, Laudita Magnificat, was forcibly revived after a fall in battle, only to go berserk due to severe psychological trauma, attacking anything within reach. Most Titans have a humanoid structure, with broad lower limbs, a slightly hunched head, and an oversized torso. Main armaments are typically affixed to arm positions, while additional weapons are mounted on the body. These configurations are categorized by patterns, such as the Lucius and Mars patterns in the Warhound-class Titans. Lucius patterns are more geometric and broad, while Mars patterns display a more rounded, bestial design. Although basic components such as leg joints and weapon hardpoints are consistent across Titans, there are significant design differences across patterns, underscoring each Forge world's unique approach to these mighty war machines. Knowledge of how Imperial Titans are constructed remains shrouded in mystery. It is known that certain Forge worlds have retained the skills to produce their own versions of these colossal war machines. Among these, Mars and Lucius are renowned for crafting the most widely deployed Titan patterns across the major classes, while other prominent Forge worlds such as Riza and the now-destroyed Griffon 4 contribute their own variations. In many cases, the Imperium no longer possesses the knowledge to create advanced technology from scratch, as this information has gradually decayed over countless millennia. Titans, however, were never built using standard template constructs, STC, from the dark age of technology, with one notable exception. This has allowed the Adeptus Mechanicus to preserve the intricate knowledge necessary to construct most Titan types. Building any Mechanicum-crafted machine requires rigorous ceremonial rites, and the construction of a Titan represents a monumental effort, often spanning several centuries. The process involves the finest materials and the expertise of master fabricators. Like the Space Marine chapters of the Adeptus Astartes, each Titan Legion or Order upholds a unique heraldic system. This system reflects their historical feats, affiliations, and the distinct character of each Legio, often taking inspiration from the traits of their home Forge world. Tradition and pride run deep within each Legio, and although heraldic colours and patterns have evolved over time, these changes are minimal. The original colours of the ancient Legio Titanicus, established before the Horus Heresy, were retained and passed down to successor Legios throughout the Heresy and the subsequent Great Scouring. During this turbulent era, colours represented not just the Legio, but symbolized loyalty, distinguishing allegiance to either the Emperor or War Master Horus. Each Titan Order possesses its own emblem and colours, marking its identity. For instance, the Divisio Militaris Order of Legio Ignatum is recognizable by its red and gold colours and the wasp emblem set within a blue-bordered white triangle on each Titan's carapace. Additionally, each Titan carries the Divisio Militaris banner of the Collegia Titanica, while the lower fairings of each leg display the Titan's class symbol. The Titan's Princeps Honor banner, or Victory banner, hangs from its waist, showcasing the Legio's insignia and recording victories with white skulls, as seen with the fire wasps. Titan crews often adorn the weapons with kill banners to mark the achievements of each armament. Crews may also paint unique emblems, mottos, or personal insignia on the Titan's carapace, weapons, or leg fairings, with considerable freedom granted in personalization, so long as the Legio's core colours and badges are respected. After the Horus Heresy, the loyalist Titan legions of the Collegia Titanica began adding purity seals to their Titans as a mark of loyalty and defense against corruption. These seals, much like those on the armor of Space Marines, are made of soft metal, inscribed with protective runes, and affixed by Adeptus Mechanicus tech priests as reminders of the heretical Titans that turned against the Emperor. Adorned with ribbon banners, the seals memorialize the shameful days of the heresy. During the Great Scouring, Titans also bore campaign pennants, typically inscribed with high-spirited loyalist slogans like Perfidy Purgendi, Treachery Purged, or Bellum Justum, Just War. Such banners are rarely used today, as few battles require the extreme resolve once needed to combat the heresy. The Traitor Titan legions of the heresy largely retained their original colours. For example, the Fire Masters continued with black, white and yellow, Legio Furians with black and orange, and Legio Mortis with black, white and red. However, these legios replaced their imperial banners with the Eye of Horus, a symbol of defiance and loyalty to the fallen Warmaster. A Titan's commander, known as a Princeps, is a member of the Adeptus Mechanicus's Collegia Titanica, who possesses the rare fortitude to maintain their sanity after interfacing with the Titan's machine spirit, a sophisticated artificial intelligence, via a mind impulse unit, MIU, neural connection. The Princeps controls the Titan through this advanced mental link, merging their consciousness with the sentient machine spirit within an immersive interface known as the Manifold. This technology allows the Princeps to perceive and direct the Titan as an extension of themselves, encompassing both their massive war engine and the battlefield around them. The Manifold permits the Princeps to command the Titan in concert with its machine spirit, though this cognitive fusion is exceptionally taxing. Few Princeps can manage to control all of a Titan's functions single-handedly, even for short durations. Therefore, Moderati, junior officers tasked with managing specific systems, aid the Princeps in operating the Titan. For the MIU to link the Princeps' mind to the machine spirit, the commander must undergo extensive cybernetic enhancement, with implants typically embedded in the neck, spine, and skull. Some Princeps even require complete immersion in an amniotic tank, where they are sustained by comprehensive cybernetic rewiring and life support systems designed to facilitate their symbiosis with the Titan. Certain Titan legions employ auxiliary haptic connectors to aid this interface, though others consider these tools too fragile for the battlefield. For Princeps encased in amniotic tanks, a polycarbon gel suspends them within, significantly reducing the neural stress of the connection and creating a stable neurochemical environment. This viscous fluid, infused with oxygen and nutrients, allows the Princeps to breathe through their lungs. Alternatively, if the fluid lacks oxygen-carrying capabilities, an external support unit oxygenates the blood and removes carbon dioxide before feeding it back into the body's right atrium. In these cases, the Princeps' heart has an artificially created foramen ovale, a small opening between the heart's upper chambers, allowing blood to bypass the non-functioning lungs and flow from the right atrium to the left, distributing oxygenated blood throughout the body. This unique circulatory adaptation, combined with the Princeps' immersion in amniotic fluid, mirrors the fetal circulatory state within a womb. In cases where a Princeps is interred within an amniotic tank, their extremities, hands and feet, are sometimes surgically removed, replaced with augmented haptic sheaths that function as extensions of the mind impulse unit. Similarly, a Princeps' eyes may be removed, replaced by sensory apparatus that link directly to the Titan's Auspex systems and the amniotic tank's own sensors. This arrangement provides additional points of contact to the mind impulse unit via the ocular nerves, further embedding the Princeps within the machine. Unlike standard hard plug connections, the amniotic interface establishes a far deeper neural bond, making it nearly impossible to sever without assistance. Only a senior tech priest can safely perform the disconnection ritual, as an improper separation risks severe neural or psychological damage to the Princeps. Amniotic immersion allows the Princeps an unparalleled, all-encompassing connection to the Titan's machine spirit, granting heightened awareness and faster reflexes compared to those using traditional hard-plug methods. This permanent neural bridge means the Princeps remains perpetually attuned to the Titan, even when it is dormant, avoiding the withdrawal and separation agony that can afflict those using standard MIU plugs. However, this continual link brings its own risks. As the Princeps' physical body weakens from disuse, their mind may begin to sink irrevocably into the manifold, eroding their individuality until they are indistinguishable from the machine spirit, a ghostly fragment within the Titan's mental domain. Consequently, many Princeps approach amniotic immersion with trepidation, wary of the isolation from their humanity it may incur, while some of their crew members harbour unease towards such deeply integrated commanders. Despite these concerns, the advantages of amniotic interfacing are significant, making it standard practice in certain Titan legions, with some Titan patterns even necessitating it by design. Princeps can also be confined to an amniotic tank to preserve their lives following catastrophic injuries, whether physical or psychological, often as a result of surviving a Titan's destruction or succumbing to their dependence on the MRU. In these instances, amniotic immersion is both a life support and a stabilizing measure, maintaining the Princeps' fragmented mind through continuous connection to the mind impulse unit. While linked to the MRU, a Princeps experiences the Titan's colossal form as their own, with their hands becoming weapon-laden arms, their eyes seeing through the powerful auspex, and their body encased in adamantium armor. This embodiment of the Titan is a heady escape from human limitations, feeding the intense dependency every Princeps develops for their machine. Their connection becomes so complete that the Princeps need only think of an action, and the Titan responds. In this intricate operation, the Princeps maintains awareness of their own physical body while also commanding the Titan through a simultaneous mental connection. This requires an extraordinary level of willpower, as failure to dominate the Titan's own sentient nature can lead to the God engine going on uncontrolled rampages. Older Titans, worn by centuries of war, are known to contain residual neural imprints from past Princeps, creating layers of personalities within the machine spirit itself. Rarely, when a Princeps dies while interfaced, a digital remnant, a so-called ghost in the link, lingers within the Titan, becoming part of its sentient essence. The task of merging a human mind with such a colossal, fiercely independent machine spirit is exceptionally dangerous. A Titan's machine. Spirit is not a passive system. It possesses an intense primal intellect that instinctively resists control. The Princeps must exert their will to overcome this resistance, establishing command through sheer determination. Due to this extraordinary mental demand, only a select few are suited for such roles, and the Collegia Titanica meticulously seeks and trains these rare individuals to master the war engines. Although the Adeptus Mechanicus typically recruits from its own ranks, the rarity of Princeps qualified individuals means that candidates are sometimes sourced from the wider Imperium. Roughly 1 in 10 million possesses the requisite traits, and even fewer survive the rigorous training. Given their scarcity, Princeps are highly valued, and their forge worlds will go to great lengths to retrieve them if lost, even under the slimmest hope of survival. Aspiring Princeps may either attend Collegia Titanica academies or ascend through the ranks, often starting as moderati on smaller Titans, such as those of the Warhound class. The mind link itself is notoriously addictive. From the first moment a Princeps asserts control over a Titan, they develop an overwhelming need to reconnect with it, craving the power and transcendence of becoming one with a god machine. For some, the return to mere human existence becomes unbearable, and they spiral into madness during periods of separation from their Titan. For those who do not meet their end in battle, this insatiable addiction can ultimately lead to a mental collapse under the weight of the machine spirit's presence. Directly interfacing with the Mind Impulse Unit, MIU, demands constant mental discipline. The task of controlling a Titan's systems in their entirety is so taxing that few Princeps can sustain it for long. To alleviate this burden, they are assisted by Moderati, junior officers who handle specific operational aspects, reducing the cognitive load on the Princeps and allowing the Titan's functions to be managed efficiently. The mental bond created by the MIU link is deeply immersive, with both the Princeps and the Titan leaving lasting impressions upon each other's consciousness. Over time, the machine spirit of a Titan absorbs traits from its Princeps, while the Princeps begins to reflect the characteristics of the Titan. War engines of the same class often exhibit shared temperaments. For instance, Warhound-class Titans are typically known for aggression and independence, attributes mirrored in their commanders. Seated at the Titan's command throne within its head, the Princeps is joined by Moderati and system controllers who compose the command crew. Lower-ranking steersmen manage basic functions, such as movement. The crew size and responsibilities vary based on the Titan scale, with Moderati handling tasks like regulating weapon systems, monitoring sensory outputs, and adjusting the war machine's numerous functions. All who aspire to become princeps undergo training at the Collegiate Titanica on Mars, learning Titan operations alongside the rituals of the cult Mechanicus. Additional personnel include tech priests responsible for maintenance and sacred rites, as well as servitors for auxiliary tasks like control manipulation and sensor monitoring. On the largest Titans, armed units such as Skitarii or Praetorian servitors may be present to defend against enemy boarding attempts, ensuring the security of the God Engine. During the Horus Heresy, nearly half of the Titan legions pledged their loyalty to Warmaster Horus and the Dark Mechanicum. Since that era, the warping touch of the ruinous powers has transformed many of these once noble engines of war into grotesque parodies of their former selves. Among these traitorous legions, some princeps and moderati remain seemingly unchanged, likely operating their Titans as they once did. However, many have undergone horrific transformations, fusing both mind and flesh with their corrupted machines, becoming inseparably bound to their war engines. When several hundred Titan legions of the ancient Mechanicum turned to Horus, they brought with them powerful Titans that, over time, would become deeply tainted by chaos and known to loyalists as part of the Dark Mechanicum. Chaos Titans bear a resemblance to their Imperial counterparts, yet prolonged exposure to the corrupting influence of chaos has fundamentally altered them. In some instances, crew members have melded physically with their Titans, leaving no clear division between human and machine. Others have pledged themselves, along with their weapons, to one of the four great ruinous powers, dedicating every destructive act to a specific chaos god. The most infamous of these corrupted god engines was the Imperator-class Emperor Titan Dies Irae, Latin for Day of Wrath, which stormed the Imperial Palace walls during the Siege of Terra. Though it survived that legendary conflict, Dies Irae would ultimately meet its end 10,000 years later on Hydra Caudatus, an imperial world besieged by the Iron Warriors. In a final, devastating confrontation, Dies Irae battled an entire demi-legion of 12 Imperial Titans, obliterating nearly all of them, before finally falling to the might of the Warlord-class Titan Honoris Causa. There are monsters, and then there are the monsters we make to fight them. Both are the same. The difference is simply a choice of how we see ourselves. The Emperor of Mankind, at the Massacre of Angerite, late Unification era. The Ordo Sinister, officially titled the Titanicus Tyrannic Ordo Sinister, stands as an elite and enigmatic Titan legion under the Collegia Titanica's Covert Divisio Telepathica, employing uniquely psychic weaponry and unconventional tactics. Colloquially known as the left hand of the Emperor and Nightmare Titans, the Ordo Sinister is one of the Imperium's most shadowy and macabre forces, wielding its power both for warfare and political influence in ways rarely seen or understood. Throughout the Great Crusade and the Horus Heresy, this Titan Legion utilized terror-inducing weaponry that operated under the shroud of secrecy, including the formidable warlord Sinister-class Psi-Titan. The existence of such tools of destruction remained unknown to nearly all within the Imperium's upper echelons, cementing the Ordo Sinister's legacy as a terrifying whisper in the dark. Fools have asked, why did the dark age of technology end in the fall of humanity? And other fools answer back folly or pride or the worship of progress, as if these things alone had any meaning. The answer, as the wise know, is simple. It is because finally humanity had the arts at their disposal to make their dreams reality. And the dreams of humanity have ever been the darkest things in all creation. Introduction to the Emerald Testament, suppressed work of the techno-archaeologist Synesius Thorne. The forces of the Great Crusade were as varied as they were vast, and as the remembrancers often proclaimed, numberless as the stars themselves. Such immense diversity was only fitting, given that the Imperialis Militarum was forged to achieve nothing less than the awe-inspiring objective of galactic conquest. This monumental mission demanded a wide array of weapons and warriors, spanning from the colossal Pioneer Corps, indentured labor battalions in their hundreds of thousands, to the unparalleled might of the Legiones Astartes, a gene-engineered transhuman fighting force unmatched in the annals of warfare. Under the Emperor's grand design, the Great Crusade became an arsenal of soldiers and weaponry, each crafted to serve a distinct purpose for every imaginable battlefield, and even for battles yet unknown against entities beyond human conception and resilience. One such ominous creation emerged, an experimental weapon steeped in long-forbidden lore, born not from the hand of a Mechanicum Archimandrite or Strategos Magister, but crafted by the Emperor himself, resulting in the creation of the Ordo Sinister. I am become death destroyer of worlds, the Apocrypha Terror. The precise origins of the experimentation that led to the formation of the Ordo Sinister are nearly impossible to trace, cloaked as they are in mystery and enigma by later scholars. As with much that originated in the forbidden depths of the Emperor's own laboratories beneath the Imperial Palace on Terra, its secrets remain shrouded, obscured both by time and the cataclysms that followed. Scattered records within the archives of the Martian Mechanicus offer rare glimpses, suggesting deep unease within the Mechanicum, perturbation born as much from the clandestine nature of the project as from their exclusion from its workings. These fragmented documents hint at two possible motives behind the Ordo Sinister's creation. Perhaps it was an offshoot of the Emperor's grand design to govern and channel the psyche element in humanity's evolution, or perhaps it was an attempt to harness exotic and arcane weaponry on a grand scale to face threats that had inflicted unspeakable costs in their defeat. Such dire foes included the likes of enslaver alpha incursions, the Rangdan Ossivores, and the Hellespont void forms, each of which had demanded the lives of millions of Imperial soldiers and the sacrifice of countless starships, shattered expeditionary fleets, and even Titan legions. These were adversaries so grave that the Imperium's only reliable solution was exterminatus, yet the Emperor sought alternatives. Thus was born the concept of the Ordo Sinister. Its role centered on the battlefield deployment of titanic weapons of terrible strength and forbidden nature, devices beyond the authority of any within the Imperium, Primarch or planetary governor, to wield. These weapons, relics of the dark age of technology, or even vestiges of ancient alien empires that had faded before Terra's primal dawn, were subject to the utmost secrecy. Only those under the Emperor's direct control, and then only with the most stringent safeguards, could employ them. The Ordo Sinister was the specialized order tasked with creating, sustaining, and wielding these weapons, classified ominously as Sinistrum. In the lexicon of ancient Terran tech arcana, Sinistrum designated forbidden devices crafted to harness or weaponize the Psyker's abilities, often with devastating costs to the Psyker's mind and body. Examples of such Sinistrum technologies, like the Culexine shackles used to control narcotically subdued Psyker covens in the Caucasus wastes during the Emperor's unification wars, were emblematic of the deepest, most dreadful horrors of the dark age of technology. The exact duration of the Ordo Sinister's existence in the Emperor's shadow remains unknown, but their first major appearance came in the year 967 of the 30th millennium. That year, the Emperor issued a writ of compulsion demanding the ongoing delivery of 25 fully operational battle titans of the Warlord class to the Vault Imperialis. This unprecedented command sent ripples through the ranks of the ancient Mechanicum, dividing its leaders into opposing camps. One faction, steadfast in their belief that the Emperor was the living omniscient, felt this order was his divine right, making any sacrifice justified. Conversely, a more politically minded faction viewed the Emperor's demand as a potential violation of the Treaty of Mars, which established the Mechanicum's bond with the Imperium while safeguarding its autonomy. For this latter group, the idea of Titan legions being created outside the sacred oversight of the Mechanicum signaled a direct threat to Mars independence. This schism nearly led to open discord within the machine cult, but the issue was quelled following a private audience between Fabricator General Kelbor Hal and the Emperor. With the agreement reached, Mars herself took on the largest share of the burden, providing 8 Titans from her reserves, while additional units were produced or requisitioned from other Forge worlds, including Metallica, Faran, Arachnus, Caradrin Magna, and Voss. Though some viewed this transfer, dubbed the oblation, as a sacrilegious crime, and others as a divine blessing, few could have anticipated the eventual outcome. For several standard years, the requisitioned god engines were seemingly absorbed into Terra's depths, vanishing entirely from sight. 25 of humanity's most formidable war machines had simply disappeared, swallowed whole by the vastness of the Emperor's secret designs. Skagen 6 was a largely unremarkable human-settled world on the southern edge of the segmentum solar. Made compliant in the 860th year of the 30th millennium by the Four Legion, in a swift, relatively bloodless campaign, the planet saw rapid growth as waves of migrants arrived from densely populated worlds closer to the segmentum solar's core. This influx spurred intense urbanization and the development of hive cities, leading to swift industrialization and, in time, escalating political tensions. By the year 946 of the 30th millennium, Skagen 6 had become a boiling pot of unrest, teetering on the brink of civil war. In desperation, the planet's Lord Arbitrator pleaded for intervention from the sector authorities, describing a world fractured by factional discord and ready to explode. The response was swift and entirely unforeseen. A fleet dispatched from Terra itself arrived, led by a single unmarked Titan conveyor, shielded by solar auxiliar cruisers of the Saturnine fleet, and accompanied by an auger frigate bearing the Imperial Household Squadron's scarlet and gold. From the Titan conveyor descended a solitary lander crucible, which landed at the starport of Decora Breaks, not far from Skagen 6's capital. Its formidable cargo was a warlord Titan, veiled in deep green black with a snarling silver lion's head emblazoned as its sigil. This Titan bore no emblem of any known Titan legion of the Imperium. Instead, inscribed upon it were the words Ordo Sinister, Pavore Dominator, alongside its blazoned name, Polaris Albedla. In mere solar days, the citizens of Skagen 6 replaced this title with one more fitting. They named it the King of Terrors, after the Psycho Tarot card of the same name, for where this god machine trod, a palpable fear accompanied it. Ordinarily, a Titan of such destructive potential inspires awe and dread in those who witness it, the magnitude of its power enough to shake even the most hardened soldier. But the fear instilled by this monstrous newcomer was different, something darker, more primal. An aura of dread radiated from the King of Terrors, chilling all who drew near. Its mere presence provoked hysteria. Crowds fled in uncontrollable panic, and others collapsed in sheer terror as it moved through the great arterial roads of the city, its weapons silent, war sirens unsounded. As it loomed over the landscape, a strange quiet blanketed Skagen 6. Those under its shadow, be they innocent or guilty, experienced the same haunting dreams of death and nothingness. In the wake of its silent passage, revolutionaries fell silent, and armed insurrectionists scattered to remote districts, their anger and grievances dissolving into nothingness. The King of Terrors had subdued Skagen 6 without a single shot, its aura of unearthly fear bringing the planet into compliance in ways no conventional weapon could achieve. The Ordo Sinister's second deployment would prove to be a far more devastating and blood-soaked campaign, forming part of a series of engagements now remembered as the defense of Helioret. From the early 960s of the 30th millennium, the Helioret sector had endured an unrelenting assault from Eldari corsairs, ruthless raiders hailing from the fractured Asuriani craftworld of Mag-Sithral. These Eldari, twisted and maddened by the loss of their ancient empire, bore scars of agony and rage from the downfall of their race, and their assaults reeked of grief-fueled insanity. Consumed by a loathing for all other sentient life, they wreaked merciless havoc across Helioret, leaving a path of blazing ruin. Entire planets were reduced to scorched wastelands where synthetic plagues transformed flesh to crystalline blood, and moons and orbital stations shattered and rained destruction upon worlds below. The Imperium's retaliation intensified, deploying numerous regiments of the Imperialis Auxilia and reinforcing them with Mechanicum Tagmata from Anvilus and Incaladion. Joining this force was a demi-legion of the Tiger Eyes Titans, who clashed fiercely with the spectral Phantom Titans of Mag-Sithral at Luxor and Ratep. The impending collapse of these critical planets was narrowly averted only with the intervention of the Blood Angels Legion, led by their Primarch, Sanguinius himself. Despite the formidable arrival of the Blood Angels, victory remained elusive. Their efforts, however, pushed the Aeldari back, tightening a defensive perimeter around their shattered craft world, trailing debris in its wake. As Sanguinius and his forces prepared for a final offensive, they were joined by an unexpected force bearing the seal of terror and the mark of the Imperial household. This force included a squadron of silent sisterhood black ships, each harbouring elite cohorts, and 3 Titan conveyors from the Ordo Sinister, their holds concealing the dread warlords of this sinister order. What followed was a battle of staggering intensity. The Aeldari warships, their sleek hulls swift yet spined like barbs, clashed fiercely with the steely grey warbarks of Anvilus and the resplendent white battleships of the Armada Ultima. Amidst this void struggle, the Black Ships and the Blood Angels' crimson warships surged straight toward their prey. Battering through the crumbling towers and shielded atmospheres of the desolate craft world, the Imperial attackers were met by Mag Sithral's spectral legions, the undead forces of the craft world, their ranks swelled by thousands of wraith war constructs. These constructs, from agile assassins to colossal warriors and titan-sized behemoths, were each animated by the wrathful spirits of this haunted Aeldari domain. The ensuing battle would be one for the ages, steeped in vengeance, spectral fury, and unimaginable destruction. Space rippled and convulsed as the Aeldari's distortion weaponry tore apart the skies. Crimson gunships shredded mid-air, while below, centuries-old colonnades and towers fell, battered by merciless shellfire. Missiles poured down in waves, forcing a grim landing upon the shattered ground. A legion of Aeldari Titans emerged from the depths of their age-old vaults, led by a towering warlock Titan infused with the psychic essence of Mag Sithral's lost seers and prophets. The Imperium knew this monstrosity as the Witch Idol, a spectre of defeat. Wherever it had walked, victory had eluded the Imperium. The initial Imperial assault reeled and faltered before this host, and even the second wave, bolstered by the Titans of Legio Furians, fell prey to the destructive might of the Witch Idol and its kin. Sanguinius himself claimed one Aeldari Titan, tearing its head apart with his bare hands, only to be struck by the warlock's Silence, a blow that would have felled any other. Then came the landing of the 3 Titans of the Ordo Sinister. Their footfalls seemed to shake the craft world itself in revulsion. They unleashed barrages of rockets and searing turbo-laser blasts typical of any battle titan, while their right arms bore vast Ariok power claws, twitching in anticipation of close combat. Yet it was their left-arm weaponry, macabre and alien, that inspired true dread. From these strange weapons spat bolts of inky darkness, silencing all in their path. These black voids tore through the wraith constructs, consuming them, and in their wake, scores more fell lifeless, as if strings had been cut from marionettes. With a chorus of grief and fury, the Aeldari Titans turned upon the intruding giants. Pulse lasers carved apart the sky, while the Witch Idol summoned a storm of otherworldly warp lightning. But as the tempest struck, an ice-white force erupted from the god engines of the Ordo Sinister, shattering the storm in mid-air. The energies colliding created a quake across the craft world, throwing Space Marines and Wraithguard alike to the ground like leaves in a storm. In that moment, all who watched knew the Ordo Sinister's Titans were Psi-Titans. The battle that ensued was nothing short of a clash of gods. Recognizing this, the Primarch Sanguinius withdrew his warriors, allowing the Psi-Titans their due space. For 3 relentless hours, these colossi warred, devastation on a scale capable of shattering entire cities unleashed. Pulse lasers carved through meter-thick ceramite, only to see it melt and reform in the wake of the blast. Yet even such unnatural protections could not defend against the lethal strike of a colossal Aeldari power blade, piercing one Psi-Titan's reactor core. The Aeldari's spectral holofields flickered as they danced the death dance with uncanny grace, dodging rockets that screamed past harmlessly. But for all their mastery of speed and misdirection, they could not evade the consuming darkness unleashed by the Warlord Sinister's cursed weapons. Gradually, the Aeldari Titans dwindled, from 4 to 3, then 2, until only the crippled witch idol remained, locked in combat with two warlord Sinisters of the Ordo Sinister, both damaged yet relentless. With its lance shattered by an unholy void blast, the witch idol screamed a psionic defiance across the warp. But this was met only by torrents of imprisoning psychic force, reducing its famed agility to the desperate thrashings of a broken effigy in a tempest. One of the Psi-Titans seized the witch idol by its battered shoulder, locking it in place, while its dark twin tore the warlock titan's head from its shoulders. With the witch idol's defeat, it was as though the spirit of Mag-Sithral had perished alongside it. Lights across the craft world dimmed and flickered out, systems failed, and its inevitable collapse began. The final surviving Aeldari, those who had not already escaped their dying home, charged forward in a last hopeless assault, but were met with the Blood Angel's relentless fury and the merciless precision of the Sisters of Silence. The Psi-Titans of the Ordo Sinister wasted no time. Bearing the remains of their fallen comrade, they left the battlefield without a word or signal, departing as silently as they had come. The last of the bloodshed was swift, and the defense of Helioret concluded with the shattered remnants of the craft world cast into a nearby sun, where it met its ultimate demise. Despise infantry if you must. Crush them underfoot by all means, but do not ignore them. Battlefields are littered with the wreckage of Titans whose crews ignored infantry. Grandmaster Ferromort, Ordo Sinister Divisio Militaris. The Ordo Sinister operates as an elite, purpose-driven Titan legion directed by the formidable Grandmaster Ferromort. This specialized force exists with a singular mission: to instill fear and enforce compliance within those who might jeopardize the Pax Imperium. By embodying the weight and resolve of the Mechanicus's ruling Magi, the Ordo Sinister serves as a steel-bound enforcer of Imperial order. Frequently, the Ordo collaborates with the Adeptus Arbites, the Inquisition, and the Ecclesiarchy, providing both transportation and powerful fire support during countless swift and brutal campaigns. Grandmaster Ferromort's meticulously orchestrated assaults are famed for their precision and ruthless effectiveness, executing operations that stand as a testament to the impersonal and unyielding efficiency of the Imperium. In enforcing Imperial authority, the Ordo Sinister has raised hundreds of reputedly invulnerable strongholds and once unassailable palaces of defiant planetary governors. Yet despite its imposing power, the Ordo remains a weapon of careful precision, a razor-sharp blade of authority, rather than the indiscriminate devastation of an Imperial Navy bombardment or the exacting approach of a Space Marine strike. The most comprehensive account of the Ordo Sinister in combat remains in the Blood Angel's records of the defense of Helioret, documenting this mysterious Titan Order's impact in remarkable detail. Beyond this, there are only a handful of other fragmented and uncertain reports, each noting the Order's arrival to confront exceptionally powerful foes, often with significant psychic abilities, or, as on Skagen 6, to restore order through an almost supernatural aura of dread. Among the most significant mentions is the dispatch of 3 Ordo Sinister Titans, with the Imperial forces sent to Sensia Prospero, a presence concealed even from Lehman Russ until the battle was well underway. Yet, across all records, one constant remains. Rarely did the Ordo Sinister deploy more than a few Titans, and their appearance was often unannounced to the forces they supported. The Ordo Sinister did not venture to the frontiers of the Great Crusade, nor seemingly leave Terra for extended campaigns. Nor, as far as historical accounts indicate, did their numbers expand significantly over time. This has led Imperial scholars to propose that throughout the late Great Crusade, the Ordo Sinister served as an experimental trial, an incomplete project, still evolving when the Horus heresy disrupted many Imperial ambitions. Notably, even prior to Horus's betrayal, the Ordo Sinister was never placed at the War Master's command or offered to any other independent Imperial commander, remaining always bound to the Emperor's authority alone. When the heresy erupted, a delegate from the Order appeared before the Council of Terra, providing insights into the Order's structure and governance during the Emperor's seclusion. However, citing direct orders from the Emperor, the Ordo Sinister was withheld from the broader campaign, set aside as Terra's final line of defense. Official records hold that the Ordo Sinister waited in readiness on Terra, bound to mobilize only at the Emperor's call. Yet rumors persist of their god engines emerging on battlefields across the galaxy during the heresy, striking without sound against the War Master's legions. Accounts of the Order's scale remain speculative, with scattered stories hinting at Titans of unique and varied designs wielding powers beyond the reach of mortal minds. On the Orc world of Ritalis IV, a massive war began to gather as hundreds of mech-boys oversaw the labor of enslaved humans, raising colossal mega-gargants across the barren plains. Lured by the promise of battle, legions of greenskins flocked to the planet. Determined to prevent this impending catastrophe, the Imperium, by the Emperor's decree, deployed the entire strength of the Ordo Sinister, 12 Imperator-class Titans, alongside other Imperial forces to crush the Wach before the green tide could engulf the galaxy in bloodshed. According to testimony provided to the Council of Terra by Prefect Kellner Anahat, a representative of the Ordo Sinister, the Titan Legion's structure and provisions followed an exact framework dictated by the Emperor himself. This rigid design allowed no deviation or innovation under penalty of annihilation. The Ordo Sinister was organized into 4 allied yet autonomous fortress crypts, each with independent defenses, support personnel, and techno-arcanists. These crypts supported distinct chambers, each comprising 5 uniquely modified Warlord Titans. These god engines, officially designated as Tyrannic Pattern Warlord Sinister Psi-Titans, were re-engineered around the Emperor's psychic amplification device known as the Siricrux Anima. The Warlord Sinister Psi-Titan embodies a fusion of the immense power of a god engine with the psychic energy of several bound alpha-grade psychers, operated by a soulless untouchable. This monstrous combination was achieved through methods only sanctioned by the Emperor himself. A Warlord Sinister's very presence drains those nearby of hope and courage, generating an aura of dread. Unlike typical Titan mind impulse units, it is this psychic energy that both controls and fuels the Warlord Sinister. Standard Moderati are replaced by bound psychers, who are surgically affixed and cybernetically controlled by the Preceptor Intendant commanding the Titan instead of a Princeps. The bound psycher's life force and psychic energy are channeled through the Siricrux Anima, which makes the Psi-Titan what it is, a devastating psychic weapon. This energy is managed by a techno-arcane interface distinct from standard mind impulse units, while many of the Psi-Titan's functions rely on sub-automata and machine spirit homunculi, advanced AI routines. The Preceptor Intendant, shielded within the Titan's head, controls this power. Even in this secure command crucible, the psychic forces involved are so intense that each commander must be a psychic blank or untouchable. However, the selection process for Preceptor Intendants differs vastly from that of the Sisters of Silence or the Culexus Clade, with cybernetic enhancements enabling effective human-machine interface. When pressed on recruitment or training, Prefect Anahat remained tight-lipped. He did reveal, however, that the psychers bound to the Warlord Sinister saw their fates as either punishment for past crimes or a merciful release from their suffering, a balance carefully maintained to optimize their psychic output. Anahat also refrained from disclosing how quickly the psychers were drained by the process. Harnessing the Siricrux Anima, a Warlord Sinister can project colossal psychic phenomena, though lacking the refined control a trained psyker might exercise. This scale of psychic power exists solely to instill terror and enact unparalleled destruction on the Emperor's command. These phenomena include waves of unnatural terror, psychokinetic forces, the biomantic draining of life in the surrounding area, and even time-distorting repairs to damage inflicted on the Titan itself. When fully roused, a Warlord Sinister becomes a harrowing presence capable of unleashing psychic power on an immense scale through its Siricrux Anima. Yet its most formidable weapon lies in its left arm. This armament, known in High Gothic as the Sinistra Manus Tenebrae, or Left Hand of Darkness, is standard to each Warlord Sinister. Unlike conventional weaponry, it resembles a twisted warp drive more than any standard armament. The Sinister Tenebrae channels the combined psychic hostility of the Titans' bound psychers into a controlled fracture in reality, a rift akin to the forced warp breaches seen in vortex weapons, but released here as a bolt of psychic darkness. As this dark projectile moves, it consumes all light in its path, manifesting as an ominous sphere or bolt, before colliding with solid matter, whereupon it detonates with cataclysmic force. The area of impact is utterly annihilated, its contents torn apart at a molecular level and cast violently into the Empyrean until the brief warp rupture mercifully seals itself. The devastation reaches beyond the point of impact. Those nearby are instantly struck dead, their bodies unmarked yet drained of life as though their very souls were severed. Though the blast of a vortex missile is more powerful and has a theoretically unlimited range, the Sinister Tenebrae Psi cannon holds a distinct advantage. It can be fired repeatedly, sustained as long as the psychic energy of the bound psychers aboard the Psi-Titan can endure. The warlord Sinister Psi-Titan wields a range of fearsome psychic abilities unique to its design, each amplifying its lethal presence on the battlefield. Shroud of Terror. This Psi-Titan radiates a soul-searing aura of amplified dread, powerful enough to send even the bravest soldiers into uncontrollable panic if they venture too close. Cities tread upon by these war machines are engulfed in an oppressive, nameless fear that lingers in the very air. Necrotechica eerie, spectral light ripples across the Titan's hull, mending shattered armor and damaged machinery. This restoration, however, extracts a grim toll on the psychers trapped within. Each repair leeches years from their lives, with their tortured screams echoing in the minds of any nearby. Death Pulse. A wave of malevolent psychic energy pulses outward from the Psi-Titan, channeling the trapped psychers' hatred and agony into a destructive force that ravages the souls of all it touches. Quickening etheric energy courses through the Titan's limbs, allowing it to surge forward with unnatural speed, defying its massive form. Antipathic Tempest. A corona of sinister lightning and hurricane-force winds builds around the Titan's head, unleashing a tempest that violently scatters anything in its path, be it human or machine. Though the warlord Sinister stands as a unique marvel in both design and capability, the concept of a Psi-Titan is not entirely foreign, particularly within the records of adversaries encountered during the Great Crusade, as well as within the deeper archives of the ancient Mechanicum's Titan lore. Predating the Unification Wars, there exist cryptic references to machines that might be termed Psi-Titans. Titan engines crafted specifically to amplify a psyker's powers, piloted by singular individuals and often serving as rare experimental relics of warfare. These war engines, however, have long since vanished, suppressed by the strict doctrines of the Adeptus Mechanicus on Mars. The fate of both these powerful constructs and the subcults of the Omnissiah responsible for their creation and control remains shrouded in mystery. Across humanity's conflicts with various psychically potent Xenos species, similar Psi-construct war engines have been fielded, notably by the Eldari and the enigmatic Fra'al, as well as, less certainly, by the extinct Vaxelrek. Some of these Xenos war engines were formidable enough to rival the Imperium's Titans in size, though often distinct in form and function.